everybody relates to that in a certain way. I think everybody's in their different stages of that. So I think everybody has that story. I'm sure the chat will go off soon. Um, but Mona, I don't think that there's any rush in that. I don't think that, I don't think there needs to be any pressure to feel like you should be out and about it, or that you need to like explain that. I think that it's kind of like having like a lover who's like under the radar that you haven't really told anybody about, and like you get to enjoy it that way. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to share that. I do feel that it'll make sense, and I think that that's always going to happen. So there's things that like I do in my practice right now that you guys don't know about because I don't feel ready to share it, completely with you. And maybe in a year or so, like it'll come out because I feel more comfortable like coming out with that. But I think we're constantly evolving and becoming. And a lot of it is like mysterious. I mean, I studied this work with nobody knowing. I was petrified that like somebody like I kept thinking about this super flamboyant gay editor at Refinery 29 who was really mean, like writing something about me at some point. And I still fear that sometimes. I'm like, they're gonna come back after 10 years and like figure out that I'm doing this. So like I don't think that there needs to be any pressure on that. And there's a lot of mystery to our path. And like we don't know why you're doing this, Mona. Like we don't know. We don't know if you're gonna make some cool, maybe you're gonna make that virtual reality dream that I really want to make happen. Like maybe you're gonna make some app, like maybe you're gonna heal your family. Like we don't know exactly. Maybe you're here just to hear these conversations, right? Like we don't know exactly why you're here. Maybe you're here to meet like your soulmate that you didn't know like she existed or whatever. So we have to be okay with the mystery of that. um Knowing you personally, I also know that there is a level of like unfulfillment in the work that you do, and there's a lot of creativity that exists within you, and I think you're going to find that throughout the path, like throughout the course and all that kind of stuff. So hand tight, and there's no pressure on having to be like, oh, you're not being honest with yourself if you're not telling people that you're doing this. Like I don't think that that's true. I think it's totally okay to have things that are mysterious about us, and think we don't have to share everything. That doesn't make us inauthentic. It makes us sacred and precious, with some of the things that we feel are precious to us. I think, so sometimes when I'm with my guides, I just be like, "Hey guys, I'm here," like, and I let them kind of tell me whatever they feel like they want to tell me, or bring me wherever they feel like. I don't feel like I don't always have an agenda. And then sometimes if I try not to be like, I try not to ask for like predictive questions. If I know, like I like to go a little deeper. So I'll give you guys an example today of the weird things that I do in my meditations. So I've been thinking, like I mentioned earlier, about this concept of like my husband working less and making more money than me. Like he makes these bigger chunks of money. I work a lot harder for like the same amount of money. So I've been playing with this idea of like, okay, well, I want to be in the energy that he's in, that he makes like larger chunks. I actually earlier in this week had a conversation with a friend of mine who's further along than I am, and she does larger chunks. And so she gave me some practical like examples of like how you make these larger chunks of money. But I know that money is just like energy, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I hear all your practical advice, but doesn't really do anything for me. It gives me a little bit of a, oh, okay, like this is possible. I can do it this way, but I don't feel ready to do it that way. I don't feel good enough. I don't feel all these things. So in meditation today, what I wanted to do was like, okay, guide, sit with me. And I want you, like, if you can please, and I go to the specific guide who I know can do this because I've seen him do kind of things like this before. So, some of your guides are going to show you like things that they can do and they can't do. So instead of like asking a question and being like, how, for instance, I could be like, how can I make bigger chunks of money with less work? Maybe I can get something from him. Maybe he'll answer me. Maybe he'll show me something. But instead, I want like an experience. So I was like, I want to feel like what it feels like to be somebody. I always say like a white man who has a lot of money. It's like usually when I ask for it, I'll be like, show me what that feels like. Like, can I feel that? And because I know all I need to do is embody that. And you can, I'll even be like, Gabrielle Bernstein, who's in our, in this world, like, she has created a certain amount of, influence and success. So I'll be like, okay, what is her understanding about her success and money? Like, show me that, like, help me feel that. And then I write notes based on like what I'm getting from that. So I use my time with them like a little wiser. Like, I try to not like use them as a magic 8 ball, but instead maybe show me um, like energy tricks. And there's just so many tricks that they can show us. And definitely, I've developed into those understandings and those questions. But if you feel like maybe there's something a little bit more, they can definitely, they're happy to show you those things. It's like, but they are kind of at the mercy of our questions. So it is good to think about expanded questions, like you said, like you're trying to have more expansive questions. And it's just like an algorithm. The like it's good. The machine's going to respond to you, but you have to be able to have like the vision to ask bigger questions. Does that make sense? Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. Okay. So Josie picked up on the idea that like, so there's this is Nikki, the human part of me. I have a personality that has a lot to do with like my brain, my upbringing. I have all these things. But within me is a soul, right? Because we are mind, body, and soul. So my soul sits in my body and I have a mind. But my soul, if I pull it out of my body really quick, my soul's essence can be very different than who I am, depending on how off path I am, or it could be pretty close to who I am, right? So the hope is that we're always, in alignment with our higher self, with our soul, like we're doing our best to be that. We're going to have a human personality, so it's going to be a little different, but the soul is like kind of what we're always trying to get to. So when you are in a human experience, my human body is going to have healings that it needs. Like, my human body is going to carry um, resentment or fear or whatever. So when I'm doing a healing, I'm working on my human body. At some point in the program, we will learn things like, oh gosh, soul fragmentation, like other things. And those are like healings actually for the soul, because the soul is what carries like the past life trauma. The soul will carry like just like little things. It's not as big as like what the human carries, but the soul has like little things that it is, that it's working on and that it's evolving in. It's not like a soul comes like dark or anything like that, but it comes with its little hangups, basically. So there's those two separations. When you are with a client, Josie, probably most of it is going to be like, human energy things. But you can also, like with time, like if you're doing a past life, like if you're realizing that there's something else, that it's a past life or whatever, like that's more work that you're doing with the soul. There's also, if you guys think about anybody in your life that you just want to call in for a second, right? I'll call like my husband in, right? So I'm going to look at my husband's body, like I'm going to kind of call him in, but instead of talking to his human self, I want to connect with his soul. So I'm going to ask like the energy that's within him, and I'm going to ask him to jump out of his, like just jump through his crown, and I'm going to talk to the energy that's like above his crown, which is his soul, and I can communicate with the soul and not be stuck with his body anymore. So that communication is going to be very different than like when I communicate with his soul. A funny thing to do with clients sometimes is, and I ask my soul this all the time, like I'll let my soul jump out for a second and I'll say like, so what complaints do you have about my human self? And like one of the things my higher self always says is like, it says that I'm too emotional. It doesn't like that I get stuck in my emotions, which is like, which is so true, right? I'm a double cancer, all these kind of things. But the soul is slightly different. Even though I'm very like connected to my soul, my higher self, I'm not, none of us, we're not 100%. So they're two separate things.
And
I'm in the
so
know now, Josie. What? I'm in the now I know.